Okay, I think we're at a good time. We're 3 minutes in, so let's get started. This webinar is all about conversion strategies. If you're not in this industry for outdoor and sporting brands, feel free to, take these strategies and pivot them to fit your own. These are meant to be a little more focused for this brand, so we will be addressing any questions from the chat that come in if we're seeing from industries from elsewhere. So cool. Chris, basketball shoes, nice. One of many, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, Steph
Nice.
Curry.
Oh, heck yeah. Is that your team?
I live in Portland, Oregon, so I got to root for the Trailblazers.
Okay, I feel you. Yeah,
There it is.
you're loyal. All right, guys, let's get started here. So we got an agenda here today. We're going to get into the awareness stage. We're going to get into return visits and owned channels. So various parts of your whole omni-channel journey and experience that you're setting up. Speaker-wise, you have myself on the hosting side, and I'll be speaking from the Justuno perspective here and there. That is all about on-site conversion and optimization, whether it be your lead capture conversion and actually getting more data out of it, or getting someone just to that next step to get them closer to checkout. That's what we implement pop-ups for, to actually create that whole step-by-step journey that you see on websites. So excited to hear from everyone today and get some tips out of this. Chris, can we get an intro from you, please?
Absolutely. Hey everybody, I'm Chris Harris, co-founder of Impossible Machine. We like to think of ourselves as the people first performance agency. I think a lot of what we do is generating great ideas around how to have a content first strategy, how to lead with personalization at scale, and how to grow your business profitably.
Amazing. Thank you, Chris. Ben, can we get an intro, please?
Definitely. What's up, everybody? This is Ben, Partnerships at Postpilot. You can think about us as the Klaviyo for direct mail marketing. We're full funnel, automated, and done for you direct mail.
Heck yes. As simple as that. And it's funny, just that's such a channel that we've all heard about, but I feel like I know so little about on the strategy side. So I'm excited to hear from you, Ben. Thank you. VJ, can we get an intro, please, on the Smarter Mail side?
Absolutely. Hey everyone, this is Vijay. You guys see here SmartMail, but I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Relay Commerce. SmartMail is one of our products. What we do is basically everything that a brand needs, a DTC brand needs to run their show, from email marketing to everything. Excited to be here with you all. Yeah.
Thank you, VJ. Appreciate that. Tina, can we get an intro from you, please?
Hey everyone, I'm Tina and I'm the head of marketing at Simple Bundles. And we're a bundling app that focuses on streamlining the back end. So we help break down bundles into individual SKUs to keep track of inventory individually and shipping and warehousing and all that fun stuff so that there's fewer mistakes. And then we also help you bypass Shopify's 100 variant limit so you can make unlimited bundle variants and options.
You guys are making it easy, effective. I will always be sold on a good bundle. Thank you, Tina. And then Sarah, can you wrap us up with an intro, please?
Absolutely. It's great to be here with y'all. I'm Sarah calling in from New York. I lead growth at Bridge. And what Bridge does is we literally bridge the gap between the offline and the online. So any brand selling omni-channel, we're helping them collect first-party data from unknown channels like retail, wholesale, Amazon, etc. Particularly for, the brands here in this vertical, we also help a lot of outdoor sporting good brands with product warranty and product registration. So, enabling that for someone that's buying one of your products at a REI, Costco, etc.
So crucial, that warranty part. I think it's like when you see someone doing that, it's like, oh, that's nice. And you can use it in various ways. Excited to hear from you, Sarah. Thank you all. So we have our first theme up here. We'll go ahead and get started. If you see me looking down, I'm just taking a little bit of notes, but I am excited to start off with the awareness stage. And this is because a big chunk of holiday traffic is going to be in this stage, right? We're looking at new visitors. So what are your tips for making a great first impression that converts? And we also want to consider metrics like customer acquisition costs and lifetime value in this. So kind of just taking it that step further. I would love to start with you, Chris, from Impossible Machine. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, it's a great topic, and I think it's one of the buzzier topics in the space right now. Partly due to the fact that I don't know if you've seen Zuck lately, but he's got these gold chains. He seems to be doing pretty well for himself.
Yeah.
I think their stock price is way up. And so obviously with Meta, it's gotten way more competitive. I think CPMs are through the roof. So a lot of marketers are looking for other avenues, just testing into other channels. And I think for SMBs and mid-market especially, maybe if your budgets are a little bit tighter, you can start exploring other alternative channels, especially own channels. And so where we've seen a lot of traction is actually through the organic side. I know that, a lot of brands spend a good amount of time generating organic content. But if you just have a steady drumbeat of output to where, maybe have a campaign calendar in place, and you're actually paying close attention to your organic content. We've seen that's actually really helping with traffic. And then I think in terms of driving awareness, influencers and affiliates are also really hot right now, from what we're seeing. And so what that does is actually when they're in that awareness stage, there's a big opportunity to not only position your brand, but to educate people about the benefits. You can introduce problem solution frameworks. There's so much opportunity. And for me personally, I come from a DR background. An agency I worked at in the past even still made infomercials. That was back in 2010, 2012. So those are still a thing. I think people actually really gravitate towards long form content. And then what you can do is actually, if you lead with that content first strategy and you're recording longer content pieces, you can chop it up, you can remix it, you can do different things. I see a lot of agencies doing that as well, a lot of SaaS providers. So I think it's a good model for a content first strategy. But yeah, having those influencers and affiliates that really identify with your audiences, I think that can provide a big lift. But really, it's a great opportunity to just position yourself in the mind of the customer, and then get them to that next stage.
I love it. Do you see more influencers like also delivering on that education side of things, or is it they are more focused on like the selling aspect still?
100%. And I think in a lot of ways you can emulate the experiential journey of becoming aware, educating yourself on the product. So you can imagine someone that's new to a product, introducing their journey, and then as a customer, you actually feel like you're along with them through the various stages. So it can feel very authentic. And I think it transcends like a traditional testimonial in the sense that it's a little bit more storytelling based.
I gotcha. Okay, thanks for that direction, Chris. Let's take it over to Smarter Mail. VJ, what are you thinking on this one?
Yes, I think my point of view, I mean, Chris has already covered quite a lot of things on this. So my point of view is like for making the first impression, the way we have seen brands that we work with, they are doing is like they try to segment the traffic because not every traffic is equal, right? Every channel is different. So when it comes to acquired traffic or say paid traffic, where you have your paid channels, influencer partnerships, and other paid partnerships like newsletter and everything that people do in even in D2C space as well. So for these, like because you know the source of the traffic, you can be a bit more personalized in your approach. So you can use different tools like say web personalization or say on page personalization tools, and that's where like I mean if you know that this is the source of the person coming to your website and this is what they are coming for, you can actually do quite a lot of things on that page, especially showing pop-ups say with Justuno and say social flows to kind of like take them from one point to another on the website to complete a conversion or whatever the action be, right? So that's one way to look at it, especially from acquired traffic channels. But then the second part, which is earned and on media, which Chris has already covered, where you have your search engine traffic and the direct traffic and referrals. For these, again, like when you have to further segment it, if you know that the traffic is coming on a particular product page, you know the intent of that. But let's say if it is coming on generic pages, say a home page or a blog page, or say a category page for that matter, right? So in that case, the approach that you take to make that first impression is completely different. You have to be a bit more intelligent in terms of like, okay, let's say someone is coming on blog, you need to first capture their email or like do something to at least have them in your ecosystem so that you have the opportunity to like get back to them. So that's how I would say I have seen brands approaching it. Yeah.
I love that follow-up on Chris's points. Like you are speaking to the actual real-time targeting based off of source. So that can be your UTM, right, that you're using, or just knowing in general that channel that they're coming from if you're not targeting a campaign UTM. That makes total sense. And especially when you're letting like these influencers or affiliates kind of do that hard work of education for you, then you get to really focus on when someone's on your website. Okay, now what am I thinking about? What own channel do I want to get them in? Am I focused more on conversion now? Because I get that. We do always want to like put that sale out in front. So
Absolutely.
sometimes it can be hard to prioritize that educational side of things. But if you let that source lead you, like you're bound to serve up something that is relevant. Thank you,
100%.
BJ. I appreciate that. I will take it over to Ben from Postpilot. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I mean, extracting from like VJ and Chris and their comments on like influencers and long form content, I think a theme that's really important to think about here is like the quality of those first touch points, just generally speaking, right? So the holidays, especially for outdoors and sports brands, is the busiest time of the year, right? Like we look at clients that we're talking to right now, like 686 and snowboard brands like that. And there's going to be so much noise that they're competing and up against in the space right now, beyond even just the standard noise of the holidays, right? All of these brands, this is their peak season. This is when they're trying to reach those, new customers and get them in the door. And so when we're talking about quality of touch point and really breaking through the noise, obviously I think about direct mail, right? Digital is going to be busy. How can we provide this quality touch point that goes above and beyond that and really stands out? And the nice thing about direct mail is that you can actually insert some things like influencer content or like long form content on a giant catalog, which is like a trifold, and you can really educate the brand about your mission and your vision and the product that you're offering. And so what we're seeing is that a lot of really strong sports and outdoors brands are leveraging this channel to stand out from the noise and make an impact and funnel some of that awareness into that first conversion. And when we look at the mix of digital and physical beside each other, we actually see that a lot of brands are having a big impact on customer LTV. So when we look at post-pilot brands, we see that customers who are sending a mix of digital and physical at that awareness stage are typically driving a higher LTV, somewhere in the range of 18 to 25% higher for that customer lifetime value. And so this can be very impactful, and we want to, of course, stand out from the noise and drive more of that awareness stage into that first conversion. And so this is something that I like to think about for these types of brands.
I gotcha. And when you say quality, like what is making that quality? Is it more on like how they're getting this direct mail, that it's like actually in their hand? Is that what you're referring to? Or like the quality of the creative that they're sending out?
For sure, the quality of the channel itself. So like I talked about like surprise and delight experiences, right? We're very used to being in the cycle of seeing digital ads, right? Or a million emails in our inbox every day, whereas not as many brands are actually delivering like a physical postcard in your hand, in your mailbox. And so how can we break the cycle that customers are used to? And so I think the direct mail is a really great way to provide that surprise and delight experience.
I gotcha. And with this direct mail impact, like just that as another touch point, do you tend to see faster time to conversion, or that's just something that makes everything else like a little bit more powerful in messaging?
Definitely, rising tides lift all
Yeah.
ships. It definitely improves the performance on other channels, and it depends on where you strategically insert it. If we're talking about
Okay.
top of funnel awareness stage and we're going like cold traffic, of course, and we're tracking the conversion off of the direct mail piece as a sole touch point, we do see that typically the conversion window is a little bit longer. But if you're sending this in a mix of digital touch points as well, then we can see, more of a direct impact immediately. So it kind of depends on where you're inserting this.
Okay, thanks for answering that. I know that can be, it varies for everyone, right? Just time to purchase. Of course, we're in a hot time, but that is a great point to just focus on those quality touch points. The name of the game is trying to get as many as we can that are relevant out there with every visitor, no matter where they're at. But I love the idea of incorporating direct mail and kind of leaning into that this season. Thank you, Ben. Let's get into simple bundles. Tina, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I feel like everyone has had so many great points, so I might reiterate a little bit, but I see a theme here on diversifying your sales channels quite a bit, and that's actually something I was thinking about with this question as well. But I guess like just to begin, I want to say I was reading a report recently that showed that median revenue for brands is up 10% year over year. So this is obviously a positive sign that things are going in the right direction. That's good growth. It's slower growth. But we still need to be careful with like our spending and be strategic about where we are investing our money. So essentially, think like $1 today, make $1.50 tomorrow. And so consistency is really, really important. I know Sarah and I were talking about that in the chat, just like the consistency of the content you're creating, and like don't give up, even though it sometimes can feel like a bit of a slow burn. So I personally will always stand by the fact that I think organic marketing efforts are always going to remain vital. I think it's one of the most effective ways to leverage your existing channels and diversifying into different digital footprints. So for example, like I've seen really good results with QR codes strategically placed in packages that offer like unique incentives or maybe drive customers to take like a specific action once they receive a package. So maybe you're pushing them to download a mobile app or to sign up for your loyalty program or even sign up for your email or SMS from that QR code. It's just a different way to kind of get that in front of them. And then even exploring, like offline channels like direct mail and postcards. I feel like we've been working so much with the Post Pilot team, and I've been seeing all of this great like catalogs that are getting sent out in postcards, and they seem to be really, really successful. And I know I've been reading content from Post Pilot that has proven that direct mail works for all generations. So it's not just for boomers. Gen Z loves it too. So that's another great way to just like diversify the channel. And then I also think mobile shopping is taking a really huge swing. And I know this is nothing new. We've been talking about mobile shopping for a very long time. But I think like specifically having your own mobile app channel or even leveraging a channel like Shopify's Shop Channel, which is they've been investing so much into Shopify's Shop Channel lately. And it's just a kind of a great no barrier way to get into the mobile app space before investing in your own. It's essentially this like marketplace of all of these Shopify brands that consumers can go through and kind of discover new products that they might want to buy. And it's a really easy way to like have all your information saved on the Shop Channel to one-click purchase things. You get loyalty points and rewards and cash back and everything to shop with other brands. I've been purchasing off of it already. So that's a really great way to get started. And obviously, I think I mentioned this at the last webinar, but Simple Bundles is now integrated with the Shop Channel. So you can also create product bundles very easily if you are displaying your products on Shop and increase your AOV at the same time. And then my last point, just with, like we said, there's a lot of people coming to your site. There's a lot of competition. I think clean navigation on your website is so important during this time, and product discovery should really be so effortless. I don't think I know customers don't want to endlessly scroll or click to find what they need all over different pages. So I always suggest categorizing your products, not just by standard categories, but also by like buyer profiles or product solutions. So for example, maybe you have product solutions for people that are new to skiing versus people that are, like pro, they've been doing it for years, or even by type of workout. I personally like doing high impact bar workouts that are more cardio focused versus, doing something that's going to be slower like Pilates. So being able to go to a website and be able to kind of categorize by the type of workout that I want to do and then land on a product category page with all of those products that are maybe specific to that type of workout is going to make the experience so much easier for me to be able to find what I need, and then add bundles on top of that where I can purchase an entire bundle based on bar workouts, get it in one click, maybe get a discount with it too. And you've not only got my purchase, but you've got me to buy multiple things. So you've increased that AOV at the same time.
Dunzo, what a winner. You took us on, I love the journey that you took us on from QR code, and the whole gist is like diversifying channels. And you introduced some new ones probably that people will be new to as far as that Shopify one. I really was liking where you were saying like kind of at the base, focusing on clear navigation, because as you kind of get busy, right, everything kind of starts to pile on. So whether it's like having that clean navigation, introducing any kind of like quiz or survey, I can see that like helping someone that maybe isn't as proactive as you, Tina, is like going through and filtering everything, that just like, oh yeah, tell me what I want, tell me how it's going to go. But that's just another way to take these impressions, is just starting at the base of kind of getting into these base channels where you can have some sort of impact. And it is August 27th right now, so I would still consider this an appropriate time to introduce some new things. Ideally, nothing that's going to take up too much of your time and be like a whole big project, but something that you can ideally see some traction from. Thank you, Tina, for that. Let's take it over to Bridge. Sarah, what are you thinking on this one?
Thanks. Everyone's had wonderful answers. I think really to touch on kind of 2 points that I think Tina and Ben both brought up in terms of kind of omni-channel. Tina talking about QR codes was, music to my ears. I think that's a really powerful way to engage folks. You're by nature somebody that's choosing to, scan that on a shelf talker or on product is already a high intent person. So being able to kind of take that data one step further is really powerful. And that's what Bridge can facilitate. As I mentioned in our intro, we typically work with brands that are selling omni-channel. So when I think about awareness for a brand that has, presence across retail partners, Amazon, different things like that, I think about the, physical act of somebody walking down an aisle at an REI, a local hardware store. And then there's kind of that other layer that we've been talking about on the digital side, the investment in targeted social ads, other strategies like that. So I think kind of, putting on this hat of how do we connect all of those dots is really important. So, providing a great first impression that converts, in my opinion, is all about the initial value exchange. So even if it's somebody's kind of first impression of, the brand, what you offer, I think you can still provide them a lot of value in that. So kind of for the in-store example, I would think about, providing something that maybe a store associate can't typically give. So if it's maybe a rack for your car, there's some additional kind of instructions around like, will this fit my vehicle? How can I chat with somebody directly from the brand to help me with that type of support? Another example would be like, okay, I already own some ski boots. Will this pair of skis, fit my existing thing? People, typically go through this, research intensive phase, and that doesn't have to stop just because they're at, a retail partner. And I think it's a really powerful way to also share your brand story. So once again, going back to that awareness, having kind of a value exchange on very practical end, but also that emotional connection can be really effective. And then to kind of tie that back to the digital landscape, I think it's also another opportunity to give people, what I would say your top of funnel consumers an opportunity for value exchange. So what I've seen work really well for brands is something like a sweepstakes or a rebate offer. This is something that they can easily opt into, and then you can put them in kind of an appropriate follow-up drip campaign. And you've given them off the bat an immediate value exchange. It's a chance to win something that they're interested in. For a rebate, maybe it's that little push to get them kind of over the edge to make that purchase. And that's a really great way to kind of pull them down the funnel, increasing the odds of eventual conversion. But it's a really natural way to kind of touch on that awareness from, walking down the aisle at REI to opting them into, one of those kind of offers, I think is really powerful. And Tina, you talked about the Shop app. I also have been loving it. So I think once again, like when a brand can kind of understand Tina likes to shop on the Shop app, we want to, remarket to her appropriately. And for a brand that's happy to kind of push those consistent channels, this is a really powerful way to drive what I would say is very thoughtful awareness.
Very thoughtful. I like the leaning into like the brand story at this point too. Not shelving that on the content side, highlighting it in different formats. And to what you're speaking to, guys, on that Shopify side, it just feels like a mini little Shark Tank situation. Like you're just getting so much credibility kind of right off the bat getting into that channel. So shout out to that channel again. Thank you everyone for your thoughts on our first theme. We did take some extra time on that, so no worries, but we'll hop right into our second theme. Let's see here. So not everyone is going to convert on that first visit or interaction, right? That's like the dream scenario. So if that's not happening, how would you approach creating a return customer journey and ensure you're cutting through the noise that shoppers face, which we kind of got into a little bit earlier. But I would love to hear from Smarter Mail. VJ, what are you thinking on this one?
So again, I think for me, like if I have to go from step 1 to step 2, the way I would do it, or like, I mean, I have seen brands doing it, is like, again, segmenting, because like at the first impression, you can have 3 scenarios. Someone landed on your website, did nothing, you didn't capture anything, and they just went away. Second is like they landed on your website, you just got their email, but no purchase and nothing. And then the third scenario is when, if you're super lucky, you are getting them as a customer in the very first time, right? So again, that's where we probably suggest, we recommend that you segment all 3 differently. And then for the first segment where you are just getting people on your website and no other details. You have social ads and displays to retarget them and then bring them back, so that you at least kind of like have that recency in their mind, and you can have another opportunity to convert them, right? That's where it is. And now the second thing, so if I have to like take an example of here is like, so REI, they have like, so I'll probably take my personal example. I was looking at the jacket and didn't do anything on the website, and I was like bombarded with all the ads everywhere, and eventually I ended up buying the jacket from them, right?
Okay.
So yeah. Now the second scenario where you at least captured some sort of email and everything, that's where one of our favorite brands, which is Black Magic Supplements, what they did last year during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, is like couple of months before Black Friday, Cyber Monday, these guys, they sell protein bars, protein powders and supplements. So a couple of months before Black Friday, Cyber Monday, they started this Black Friday, Cyber Monday fitness challenge. So they kind of like partnered with gyms, did it online, and by the time you had the Black Friday, Cyber Monday coming up, they had enough interaction with the people that they get a lot of their new customers from that campaign, right? So like, I mean, using that first touch point emails to kind of like gamify or interact with them so that you can convert them to the customer, right? And then the third one is basically someone who has already been a customer. Now for you, like, you need to have that intelligence. There are tools out there. You have Peel Insights, you have Triple Well, and all those tools that gives you, like, I mean, so let's say someone has bought product X. What is the likelihood of someone buying product X will buy product Y? You have to like dig into your data, and based on that data, you can run those insights, and then those insights should be pushed to your ESP, which is, be it Klaviyo or anything that you're using, right? And then you take a second stab at them. So that's basically how, I mean, we have seen brands doing well. If they, how, like, I mean, they have converted someone who have not converted in the first attempt.
I love this. Okay, so you broke it down into 3 segments and really focusing on whether they've converted and if we have any additional information on them.
Right.
That's a great example of someone, what you mentioned, like someone setting up that fitness challenge months before the holiday, which we're still in something like that where you get set up some kind of challenge there.
Exactly.
And was that virtual or was it in person? Do you know?
So it was virtual, but
Okay.
like, I mean, because these guys were in UK, so they partnered with local gyms as well. So it kind of like worked for them both ways.
That's amazing. And then they just have that mindset going in all these
Yeah.
shoppers. Like you're not really selling, but you are attaching yourself to that lifestyle, which is important to creating that whole return visit in the first place.
Right.
Thank you, Vijay. Fantastic tips here.
No problem.
Let's take it over to Ben at Postpilot. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I was gonna say, VJ kind of nailed it. He gave you the whole rollout strategy. There's nothing else to add. I'll keep it super simple. I'll talk about basically bringing more maybe anonymous first-time visitors into your own channels. So there's a couple tools I really like for this, like retention.com, obviously, anonymous browser, identity resolution. You can pull them in, grab their email, and then of course retarget them with your standard email campaigns. Postpilot has a tool that is basically the same thing as this, identity resolution. We call it site match. Anonymous browsers on site. Obviously, we're going to look at their session engagement. We're going to lead score them, and then we're going to pull them in, and we're able to send them direct mail, right? And then it's as simple as everything VJ outlined, right? Give them the right offer, keep it simple, give it to them at the right time, and bring them back on site so that you can actually get that conversion. So yeah, I won't add too much more. Just wanted to highlight there's some really cool tools that you can identify more of that anonymous traffic. So you pull in some of these like first abandonments to your own channels.
Awesome. Thank you for that wrap up, Ben. Appreciate it. Let's take it over to Tina at Simple Bundles. What are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, I think I'll focus more on the website side. So, maybe when folks actually do land back on your website and then getting them to make that purchase again. When I think about even the journey for myself, there could be the reasons why some folks might not be purchasing is because they either like are having trouble finding the items they're looking for, or they may be confused about which items should go together, or maybe it's just not the right time for their journey. So again, this goes back to the consistency of posting and publishing across all of these sales channels we've been talking about. And so this can like easily happen even when you think about how discovery channels work in the first place. Potential buyers are hearing about your individual products all of the time on different contexts, from TikTok, on Instagram, to email, to, you know, the mobile app, whatever it may be. I'll just give like an example here of a dermatologist that I follow on TikTok who promotes her SPF products all of the time. There's like a lip oil, an under eye cream, a powder SPF, and she does these different videos talking about each product individually. I've visited her Shopify store maybe 2 to 3 times over the past year, and I've never actually purchased anything. I actually found it quite overwhelming just because there are a lot of products. So while I could go hunt down each of these items that she's been showing off in her TikTok videos, I actually never really needed the products until just recently. So I'm technically on vacation right now at the cottage. I've been thinking a lot about sun protection as I've been doing outdoor activities like hiking and being down on the boat and everything. So, you know, I decided, okay, I do have a need now to make this purchase. And so I went to get her SPF products that she's been talking about so much on her TikTok channel. And I went to her website and I was so excited because she had this whole category that was just SPF in the nav menu. So I clicked it, and then I saw a bundle that just had each of those items that were in her videos in one item together that I could purchase, and then it had a nice discount on top of it. So I didn't even think twice. I purchased it. And there are 3 reasons why I finally made the purchase this time. It was I've been consistently getting served her content about those products on TikTok and on Instagram for years. I've been following her for a long time. I had a pain point suddenly. I'm going on vacation, I'm doing outdoor activities, and I need SPF to protect my skin because I care a lot about good skin products. And then when I went to the site, there was that product bundle that just made it so easy for me. It spoke to my specific needs, and I got a good deal out of it as well. So it was kind of like a no questions asked, no brainer purchase. So I think like a couple tips to take away from this personal story of mine is to develop like a starter bundle or a bestsellers bundle and have that easily discoverable on your website. These bundles simplify the decision making process for new customers, and they just make it easier for them to make that first order. And then speaking about, you know, BFCM coming up as well, another one you can do is offering bundles as gift options in things like holiday guides, just because we know people are also purchasing for their loved ones during the BFCM discount season as well. And then just naturally put items together that make sense. So one thing I always suggest is looking at your frequently bought together items from Shopify, and anything that's maybe been purchased 5 to 10% of the time recently could be a good indicator that those items should just be bundled together and make it easier for the customers. And then tailor your bundles to align with seasonal demands. So again, the SPF bundle makes sense because it's summer, I'm going on vacation, I need to protect my skin. But in the winter time, you know, people love skiing. They're going to start going to the ski resorts. So this goes back to that bundle I was talking about earlier on. Maybe there's something for people who are new to skiing that don't necessarily want to purchase very expensive equipment because they don't know if they're going to like it. So you can put together a bundle of maybe all the beginner items, and then you can have bundles for people who are pro skiers and they don't want the cheap equipment. They want to go full out, and they want to get all the best of the best items for their trip. So again, you're speaking to different customers who are at different levels, have different experiences and pain points, and you're getting it to them at the right moment in their journey. And then the last thing I'll add, speaking, you know, from an app that is able to streamline all the back end stuff, but just making sure you are using a software that can efficiently manage your inventory and fulfillment of bundles. There has been so many stories I could tell about folks who just have such chaotic back-end processes with bundles that it makes them not even want to do it, just because things get lost. They get like print sheets of all the items to ship, and it's just like line by line by line, very messy to read. And then there's just so many mistakes that happen. So working with an app that is able to really break that down into individual SKUs to be able to pick and pack items, and then on the return side be able to return individual items too for customer sake, is just going to make it so much easier for you to be able to put these experiences together.
Oh yeah, you guys are delivering on the operation side of that really nicely. I appreciate you going into detail there on like what it looks like. Like, yeah, we can create all these bundles, and yes, we still make it easy for you to deliver on that promise too. Your bundle experiences are so great because as you're talking through it, I'm like, yeah, I could see like I would have loved to see that kind of bundle as a first-time snowboarder when I didn't realize, like, oh, my face is going to get super burnt out there and everything else is. Like, you just don't realize, you don't know until you experience it. So, like, I would have wanted a little bit more education there, right? When I'm seeing that bundle. And it's like those little things, like those little nuances of knowing, okay, this beginner or this pro, they may still want the same bundle for different reasons and may just need a little bit extra push there on whether it's like discovery or just making it like very educational. I love that example. Thank you, Tina. Let's take it over to Sarah from Bridge. What are your thoughts on this one?
Thanks so much. I'll focus my answer on offline channels and experiences. So thinking about when, somebody is touching your product or being exposed to your brand, in the aisle at a store. But also I think for this category, a lot of brands invest dollars into sponsorships of events. So whether that's, a triathlon, they're sponsoring a concert, different things like that. Those are really, impactful opportunities to connect with a lot of consumers, but it's not always the right place to show off your product and have really an in-depth conversation. And so I would say these are kind of the events where Bridge can be really powerful of truly bridging that offline to online. And so basically, what I've seen brands do really well is they'll have a great kind of branded bridge experience for this event. And there's that value exchange once again of maybe unlocking a discount, something like that. But if a brand gets really granular with those bridge experiences, all that information is getting passed through to their Shopify or Klaviyo. So this is where you can get really personal and retarget. So if I know that Ben was at a triathlon in Austin, Texas last week, and he engaged with the bridge experience, we can pass that through, giving the brand, an opportunity to truly cut through the noise. Because it's like, oh yeah, I was there. It was an awesome event. Obviously, I'm interested in buying some new shoes or whatever the relevant product is. So I think that's, a really great opportunity to truly be personal. It's a way to kind of say thank you, different things like that. And I think it really helps align people with what that they're interested in. And then Tina, to your point, we can kind of assume based on that consumer profile, if they're interested in, these concerts or these types of sporting events, here's kind of some other suggestions of things that we would find compatible with those. And giving that, personalization makes it so that the consumer doesn't have to think that hard, right? You're really cutting through with like immediately something that matches their interest and then giving them kind of some extras. So I would say that's definitely one that's really powerful. And then going back to like another type of value exchange could be some sort of rebate. So if you participated in an event and, you want to offer $20 off, but your product is sold, across big box retailers, through Bridge, you can kind of drive this conversion of like, hey, text us your receipt, you'll get a Venmo back for $20. So that once again is like a very powerful incentive to get in your car, drive to the store and make that purchase. Other brands will choose to kind of honor that with an online purchase as well. But once again, you are like telling that consumer that who they are in a really thoughtful way because, they attended something or you've already kind of learned something about them. And that really helps kind of cut through, I would say, a lot of what people tend to get overwhelmed with in this season.
I gotcha. Great tips there, Sarah. I love the text receipt one. I haven't heard that or experienced it yet, but I guess it reminds me of where like if you go to Dick's and you return something on the receipt, they'll typically give you like a percentage off or $1 off to go use there, which is like you're working harder for that next conversion and like hopefully just trying to keep a little more money in the bank there. I also really like just the focus on the value exchange here. And when it comes to like these experiences offsite, one way that I would recommend kind of getting to the root of maybe where you can focus these communities is looking at where these conversions are coming from on your website and just where that's organically kind of building up, where you have the influx of sales where you can already maybe tap into that visitor or those customers. And maybe it's you capturing their social handle. So you can see if they're of any kind of like influencer or creator that you would want to work with. Because we all know that those micro influencers, those that have that really nice connection with their audience is what makes your relationship more powerful there. So just wanted to point out, I love those tips, Sarah. Thank you so much. Let's wrap this one up with Chris from Impossible Machine. What are you thinking?
Yeah, let's do it. Not a paid promotion, but I think this is really where Justuno shines, a tool like that. So, you can imagine the buyer's journey coming to the website. You have this deluge of information, so many different choices. We at Impossible Machine are all about personalization at scale, sort of eliminating the analysis paralysis of just too many options. So in many instances with outdoor brands, sporting goods brands, you could imagine a storefront with many different options for many different categories. I know we touched on this a little bit earlier in the conversation, but it really puts the customer in a tricky position of having to sort through everything. And so what a tool like Justuno can do is actually identify exactly what they're interested in terms of behavioral components, even psychographic components. So you can have that zero-party data collection happening up front. And what we love to do too is if you're going to offer a discount or $1 off, whatever the offer is, the initial offer, to try to get that email or SMS, what you can actually do is incentivize people beyond that to actually give you and submit some information. You can do that on the front end or the back end, making it optional. We do both in different instances, but really what that allows you to do then is follow up with more informed, more personalized messaging that has a higher chance of converting. So I'm going to just use the example that I was talking about earlier because I think it's a great theoretical framework to help illustrate what I'm talking about. So I mentioned the Steph Curry shoe, which I love. It's like the best basketball shoe I've ever worn. I think it actually makes me a better player.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. So you can imagine a Justuno pop-up that appears if you're Under Armour that gives you different options for what type of basketball player you are. If you are mostly defense oriented, you are mostly offense oriented, you play both sides of the ball, you like to have quick bursts, or you like to stop in a short distance. You can have it be very specific. And actually, the more I think customized and more personal it is, the more informed of a recommendation you can give. And you can also imagine how, again, I know we touched on this and I thought it was a great point, that online can sort of emulate offline experiences. So if you walk into a Foot Locker, for example, someone's probably asking you these types of questions. What kind of basketball player are you? What are you interested in? What are you hoping to get out of your next shoe? And so you can sort of emulate that with a tool like Justuno in terms of posing those types of questions. You can make it experiential. You can make it really cool. You can embed videos, do lots of different things right there on the first touch. But then going into, those follow-up emails, like maybe it's a welcome series or a content campaign, you're actually going to be able to make more informed recommendations, and you're going to be able to build content around that that's actually going to land much better. And so you got to remember too, if you're even improving conversion rates by 1 to 2%, that could potentially mean tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on your business. And that's really the true intention of personalization, is to incrementally improve your conversion rates, right? And so if you're asking those types of questions and incorporating those types of things, we do these audits all the time of brands. No one's really still doing this. And it's incredible because zero-party data, that's been a buzzy term. People talk about it. They kind of give lip service to it. But the actual implementation of it is not a huge lift. So if you just spend a little bit of time mapping out a strategy, or you could certainly work with a great agency like ours, and you can really get to the bottom of some of these problems and actually help people out, right? That's the ultimate goal, is to deliver the best product recommendation for you. So just think of an example like that. The same applies for an outdoor brand. If you're doing different types of hiking, I know we touched on snowboarding. There's so many opportunities to learn about different interests and different use cases for your various customers with zero-party data.
I guess. And typically in this space, like sporting goods, it's like a hobby or something that someone really wants to invest in. So they are a little bit more willing to give you that time and attention to these questions that you want to ask, which Chris, you highlighted your use cases of Justuno perfectly. I would add into that just like you can place these questionnaires, surveys, quizzes, or just like that one discovery question that you have anywhere on your website and at any point. So whether that's embedded into your lead capture approach, or it's something that's embedded like on a product page after 60% scroll, for example, even to your post-purchase pages. And if you know they haven't signed up for SMS, for example, leaning into that to get their phone number. So great points there. We will dive into our third theme, which speakers will just be going over a tiny bit, FYI. And so I'll get to our last slide after this one. So third and final theme, let's get into own channels, which we've touched on already. And we have a specific question of how do you advise using these channels to maintain and improve AOV this season? So let's start it off with Postpilot on this side. What are you thinking?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, if we're talking about getting the most impact out of own channels, I think something that all the panelists have talked about today is like timing and relevance. So, like ensuring that we're sending the right message to the right person at the right time. What I want to build on, especially if we're thinking about AOV, I want to take it like one step further and just think about profitability. And I want to talk about discount ladders as a strategy really quickly. So this is something that our founder Drew talks about a lot, and we get a lot of questions from brands. It's like, how do I discount properly? What discount do I put on, our win back campaign, versus our abandoned cart campaign? Do we need to include a discount on our postcards? And different people have different opinions on this, but we talk about it as a discount ladder, and effectively it's a tiered discount system based off of the engagement that the buyer has had with our brand. We can look at things like recency. So if we've already tried to touch them a few times with a specific discount and they haven't come back and acted on that, then we can look at bumping up the quality of that discount or the level of that discount. We're changing and trying something new. But really the idea here is not not to have a blanket approach on your own channels. Really ensure that you're delivering something that's meaningful, but also that's not going to like cut into your margins based off of who exactly we're targeting. So discount ladders, look into them if you're not familiar with them, and leverage them on your own channels to increase your profitability.
Lovely wrap up there, Ben. Thank you so much. I wanted to point something out, speakers. I feel like we got into AOV quite a bit earlier in some more own channels. Are we cool hop into our fourth theme? Yeah? Okay, cool. Let me hop over there. Thank you all for hanging in there. We've got some examples in this slide deck, which you will get after the webinar and get all those good tips and strategies. Okay, so fourth theme kind of gets into a different mindset of pivoting. So what scenarios throughout the funnel or omni-channel should brands have a backup plan for this season? Or if you can comment on what things brands should look out for that might force one to pivot their holiday campaigns. So we'll start off with Tina on this one from Simple Bundles. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'll just expand on what I was mentioning before about streamlining your back-end ops.
Okay.
Yeah, like as the holiday season approaches, you obviously want to make sure there are as few issues going on the back end as possible, because it does impact your customer experience, right? If they aren't getting items that they purchased, or things are super delayed, or if they're expecting something to come at a certain time because it's a gift and then it doesn't end up making it on time, all of those things really do matter, and they do impact how customers perceive your brand and potentially will shop again. So this is just my warning, I guess, for the holiday season coming up. And my favorite example is from Revel Nail. Obviously a beauty brand, not a sports or outdoorsy brand, but it is just such a good example. She has been with Revel Nail for 9 years, and she ended up moving over to Simple Bundles a few years ago, I believe. But before that, she was using 3 different bundling apps, each for individual purposes. And then I spoke to her recently, and she was explaining to me how their team at the warehouse center and shipping center would have sticky notes that would explain like each individual bundle and what was supposed to go in them. And she would get calls every single day from that team being like, someone ordered this bundle, can you like remind me again what's supposed to go in this? And it was just such a back end fiasco. And so when she switched over, she told me she went from getting calls every single day to like maybe once a month that she would get one of those calls, just having to like sort through some of the back end stuff. So it was like an 80%, minimum increase in, or I guess decrease in issues going on the back end. So just made it so much easier for their team to be able to serve their customers and, trust that things are getting to them in the way that they should be. So we all know that purchases are going to increase very, very soon. You're going to have a huge influx of sales. So if your back end stuff is maybe a little bit wonky right now, it's just going to get even worse if you don't have it streamlined. So now is kind of like that perfect time to start streamlining these things, and just trust that when you go in the holiday season, you're going to be able to sit back and just know that everything's going to work as is.
There you go. That is your call to do the hard stuff right now. Thank you, Tina. Let's take it over to Sarah from Bridge. What's your feedback here?
Yeah, I love that you asked this question. I think it's really important to, try to eliminate the element of surprise, which it's part of, working at these companies. But I would say this holiday season in particular, we're definitely expecting to see a skyrocket in Meta and Google Ads because of the election cycle in the US. This is something that, a lot of folks have been thinking about, or if you aren't, now it's probably the time. So I would say like, any kind of alternative strategies to help keep costs reasonable is certainly worth exploring. Just knowing, how that's going to line up with the timing of when you typically be spending some of those, ad dollars and paid search dollars. So I would say, getting started now is essential. And I would also recommend, not testing brand new things, in October or kind of down the line. Like we kind of mentioned earlier, I think it's not too late today, but I would certainly not recommend that later down the line, especially with kind of knowing things will be a bit more unpredictable. Something that I've seen brands, leverage in a really strategic way are joining forces with other brands in, their category that aren't competitive with them. So I would say this can be like truly as lightweight as doing kind of a joint giveaway with some partners, because you can leverage their own channels, their own lists, and vice versa. And when that consumer is, getting touched by that brand with your logo on it, they're already warmed up. They already have kind of a trusting relationship with their, existing person that they've purchased from. So I would say that's a really efficient way to kind of drive top of funnel now. So then you can capture that and put them back into kind of your existing follow-up flows instead of acquiring, new potential buyers at a much higher rate with that election season and, just competing with all the holiday ads. So I would say like definitely recommend that. And then for brands that are really focused on omni-channel, just like thinking through that strategy to connect with your offline shoppers. And offline shoppers could be somebody that tends to purchase on Amazon or once again in a retail setting. So, thinking about those displays, those end caps that you might want to invest in. Something I've seen brands do to kind of boost those relationships with the retail partner is basically say like, hey, we'll do all the heavy lifting to drive more folks into your store. We're going to run the sweepstakes or a rebate program. Retailers love it. They don't have to do anything. It kind of avoids the like clearinghouse traditional couponing route, but then brands are able to really own those customers regardless of where they're purchasing. So I would say definitely if you kind of have that shelf space, floor space for the holiday season, think about a way to take it a step further and connect with those buyers.
Great tip, Sarah. Yeah, that's all about just kind of getting in there, making yourself known, and really highlighting like what it is that you can deliver in these settings. The joint giveaway is too good. I have to shout out that one again because we've equally seen success with that when you're serving that up in a pop-up and using like that other brand's product, whatever it is, giveaway that they're doing, in addition to maybe an offer or like discount tier that you're doing. And that's like also contributes to different targeting that you can do on site when you're thinking about like maybe who to serve up those unique experiences to. But thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that feedback on that one. Let's take it over to Impossible Machine. Chris, what is your feedback here?
Mm-hmm. Election season, yeah, let's we're all excited for that. I think with CPMs and all the craziness, and you can expect two big brands, they've been saving their ammo for the end of the year here, so you're gonna get absolutely annihilated if you're a smaller or mid-sized brand even trying to keep up. So I would say definitely now start looking at alternative channels. As we mentioned, organic content that can be a great source of traffic, and also it's just your opportunity to speak directly to some of these things. We mentioned influencer affiliate, but really think about just getting your content war chest in a good place. The other thing I would recommend is, so I'll just step back and say a common pitfall of many brands is they actually view Black Friday, Cyber Monday as a little bit of a loss leader. And so they're all about acquisition, right? And so if we're talking about customer acquisition costs, LTV, repeat purchase rate, any of those profitability metrics that really matter to brands, I would say kind of reverse engineer the numbers of what you're putting in versus what you're getting back. because you might actually be losing money on a lot of these customers. So what I would recommend is, rather than just kind of the batch and blast approach where you're just throwing stuff at the wall, take a step back, do some audience research, identify your best cohorts of customers, look at what they're buying, and then make a data decision, a more informed decision around who you're actually targeting on the acquisition side this cycle. And then I would say also go ahead and double your efforts around retention marketing. So if you have an existing customer base, think about ways to actually get them to purchase again versus kind of being in this full-time acquisition mode. And I think, again, this is a very common mistake that a lot of brands make that I see. And so if you're running with lean budgets, or you're really trying to maximize your opportunity in terms of profitability versus sort of just having top line revenue coming in, and then a lot of these people never purchasing again, which is a common occurrence, I would say just take a step back and really sink your teeth into the data and begin testing now.
And you're going to see plenty come through that you can decipher there to segment. Thank you, Chris. That's a great tip for us. Just definitely keep embracing your own channels, exploring new ones. We'll take it over to Smarter Mail. VJ, what are you thinking on this one?
What I wanted to cover, I think like part of it has been covered by Chris and Sarah both, but I think a combination both, where like, I mean, one of the misconception that people have is Black Friday is all about new acquisition, which is not the case. Like, I mean, this is the right time to start if you want to think about your retention channels. Like, I mean, we have brands like Fashion Nova, and everyone knows that this is an election year and they'll have to spend a lot of the budget. So they have already been thinking, okay, retention is going to be the channel for them. It is going to be an important channel for this year. And so, I mean, Fashion Nova is an outlier, but let's say if you are a brand that is probably in the range of say 1 to 3 million and say selling products which are of like very thin margin, you shouldn't be like relying on ads this year. As simple as that. So that's where like, I mean, you need to like really dig deeper into your data. Like, I mean, you need to know who's your champion customer. You need to know who's your loyal customer, because like say Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you are giving discounts to new one. Why not give it to your existing customers and bring them back, right? So you have to have those insights on your champion customer, loyal customer, potential customer. There are like concepts and strategies like RFM and everything. There are enough tools out there. That's why like, I mean, at Relay, which is a combination of like 7 different brands, right? Like when we work with around 38,000 plus brands, D2C brands. And one thing that we feel especially around D2C for brands that are doing 5 million and above, your tool stack is, even though it is like neglected, but it is the most important thing if you have to run operationally very well, plus make sure you want to like squeeze that extra mileage from your campaigns and everything. So yeah, that's basically where I would say like, I mean, don't rely just on ads, start focusing on your retention channels and start getting in touch with your different segments, and don't just push everything to everyone. Like you need to know that you are sending something special to your top customer versus something which may not be that special to something else, because you know what is their buying pattern and everything. So yeah, that would be my point.
I gotcha. Yeah, way to hit on segmentation at this point, and at the very base, focusing on customer or non-customer. And then from there, how much have they purchased before in different tiers there? I think that's a great point of like, you have limited resources. If it's running too close to time, at least that kind of segmentation can help you deliver more results on that retention side and building loyalty. Thank you, VJ. Let's wrap it up here with Ben from Post Pilot. You get one more chat in here than everyone else.
Sure. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks, everyone. I was going to say, I'll keep it light. Election season, the cost of direct mail does not fluctuate. So if you're looking for a cost-stable channel, and you're trying to refunnel and refocus some of that budget from paid ads, direct mail is your friend. Number 2, this is to what VJ was saying. Think about your VIPs. So what we see a lot of great brands do is open up a BFCM VIP offer, and they open it up a few weeks early. This allows you to not only on the back end, kind of help your logistics team with, an influx of orders coming in, sooner rather than everything on that BFCM weekend, but it does allow you to cater a, you know, specialized message and remind the folks that you've already paid to acquire that you know that they're there, you recognize that they're there, and that you have a special offer for them as well. So those are my 2 quick points.
Okay.
Hopefully those help.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to take it into our last slide today, which is super important. So you can take all of these things that we've said and combine that with some sort of audit or offer to really get the most out of this kind of 1 month leading into the last planning of your campaigns. So from the Justuno side, we do have a free conversion audit. So we'll look at your whole website experience, understand where there's opportunity for you to target those different sources, like what VJ was saying, and actually serve up something that's relevant, whether it's your lead capture, cart abandonment messaging, or embedded experiences across your website. So feel free to scan that QR code. Then we have a free customized Justuno templates to 5 brands from Chris, and Impossible Machine is going to be able to customize that for you, base it off of your KPIs and strategies that you've had. I've seen their work. They're amazing. So feel free to take advantage of that one. Then we have 500 postcard credits from Postpilot. Ben, I feel like you might have to go into a little bit more detail on how the credits work, but this will be awesome to get from Postpilot. I will send all of this in the recording email, so you'll have the links there. Then from VJ, we have a free tech stack audit, which is perfect. That's exactly what you were talking about, the tech stack being a crucial part to having all the success on the operations side. So first 25 people are going to get that. We have 1 free month of simple bundles from Tina. So that's going to allow you to see like how optimized can you get your bundles, or what can you even consider presenting to these various segments or sources on your website. And then we have this free omni-channel audit. This is perfect to wrap us up, just a full view of how each of your channels is performing and where the opportunity lives. But today I feel like we've been able to present alternatives for you in this really weird year with election, and things for you to consider and really bank your own when it comes to your brand.